Let's speak to Jeff Pohjola, who is over in Northwest Radio in Seattle, a few miles north, you might say, of California, where the streets of Los Angeles are burning because there's been more protests overnight. These are largely in the Hispanic communities of South Central LA and not far from downtown LA, where a lot of the Hispanic population lives. Of course, there were these ICE raids that were being done, and many of the illegal migrants who have settled in California are rioting. There's lots of pictures on the front pages this morning, a particularly cogent one on the front page of the Times, where it's got a load of National Guard people standing next to a building where a graffiti reads "Death to America," spelt with 2 Ks. Jeff, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to talk to you. This is quite bad, this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, LA is certainly no stranger to riots and civic unrest, but then this is something we've been seeing over the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years here in the United States.
Yeah.
You have uprisings in various cities. Seattle, where I'm at, certainly not immune to that. We had the CHOP a couple of years ago. That was a big fiasco, to say the least. And you can go back to the 90s with the Rodney King riots down in L.A.
Yeah.
And it's something that the United States has really had a history with, but it seems to have been amped up in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, this apparently is all about, this particular riot is all about the raids on illegal immigrants and how many of those people are being pulled out of houses and pulled out of bars and basically deported. You know, how much of that is still going on?
It's hard to say, you know, how much is going on at this particular moment, but certainly the big news over the weekend was the fact that President Trump activated the National Guard, federalized California National Guard troops and deployed them to California. That's really caused quite a stir in political circles because typically presidents in the U.S. don't do that without the consent of the local governor. And Governor Gavin Newsom of California has pushed back, calling it a bit of an escalation. And he's pleading, of course, he's a different party than the president. Gavin Newsom's a Democrat and President Trump's a Republican. Newsom is pleading with some of these protesters and followers to, quote, don't give the president what he wants. Don't buy into the escalation, but trying to get crowd to follow directions, whether you're police, you're the governor or the president, can often be a very big challenge.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, I mean, is it likely that the National Guard are going to crack down on this even harder in the coming nights?
It depends on how things go, I would say. We've seen a number of arrests so far. We've seen some violence directed towards police. But it really all depends on who's running things. I kind of relate this to the CHOP, the Capitol Hill occupied protest that we had in Seattle about 5 years ago. You had a serious problem with leadership at that time with the mayor of Seattle and with the chief of police for Seattle. Los Angeles, they have a bit more experience. Gavin Newsom's an experienced leader. Los Angeles, as we talked about, has had many riots and uprisings in the past, so they've dealt with it. So it really, I think, depends on how the leaders respond and then how the protesters respond.
I mean, you can see them firing tear gas canisters there. I mean, it looks like a war zone, to be honest.
Indeed.
And I mean, I know that you'll say that it's looked like that before, and so it has, but it can't be a pleasant place to be at the moment.
No, certainly not. And we saw some tear gas deployed here in Seattle in the CHOP protest 5 years ago. But whenever you see federalized troops firing on individuals, whether it's live rounds or less lethal rounds or tear gas or anything like that, it's always disturbing to watch that happen in your own country. And whether or not this spreads to other cities, we'll have to see. But the biggest problem, I think, right now here in the United States is this divisive nature. You're either for Trump or you're against Trump. There's no middle ground. And the two sides are never going to meet.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Let's have a listen to what Trump had to say last night.
We're going to be watching it very closely. And when they spit at people, you know, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit and worse. You know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing. They get up to them this far away, and then they start spitting in their face. that happens, they get hit very hard.
And so, as he says, things may indeed escalate. Jeff Pohjola, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Reporter at Northwest Radio, Seattle.